The next skill we're going to cover is how to add resources into your group. So again, we're looking at ways that we can make this user-friendly and also worthwhile for the participants, the members of the group. So the two things we're going to look at are adding in resources or cultivating good content. We're not looking at creating content yet. We're going to start just smaller with just cultivating good content that's already created by other people. And then also looking at how to make a test bank. Because I think for a lot of people, for teachers, it would be great to have all those different good questions in there that you can pull from. And then that'll help with some other challenges that we experience, such as academic dishonesty, when we're dealing with online testing and things like that. So the first thing we're going to look at is adding in materials from someplace that already has been developed for us. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a video into agricultural and food land use. It's a video that I know is on YouTube. I'm going to go ahead and go copy from resources. And then from here, I'm going to go to apps because I have YouTube loaded as one of my apps. If you're not sure or you don't have YouTube here, you're going to need to add YouTube as one of your apps. We're not going to cover that in this module, but I will put a support video on, as I did in the first folder, to show anyone who doesn't know how they're able to add an app, or you can talk to your building tech coordinator as well. So on YouTube, I know I want to do crash course history, agricultural revolution. Okay, and so I can just search right there. I'm going to pick it here. I'm going to go import as embed. Okay, and then you'll see the videos right there. So now, as I'm sharing with other teachers, if they don't know about Crash Course, number one, if you're a social studies teacher, you need to know about Crash Course. But it's a great way to have it already organized by the content so people can find materials. And then that video is there, so you can add it into different assignments and different things like that. Okay, so that's just quickly how you add in a resource. The next thing that we're going to do and spend a little bit more time on is how to make a test bank. So we all have different tests, but what's nice about creating a test bank is that over time, as that bank evolves and grows and becomes better, you can then assign a test or a quiz to students from the test bank. And then if you're giving it in class, you can randomize the question order, you can randomize the answers. So if there's 50 questions in your test bank and you want to assign 20 questions to your students, students in the class will get different questions. So again, that helps reduce any issues that you might encounter with academic dishonesty and whatnot. It also helps if you are someone that offers retest for your students for them to improve their grade. It's a way for you to have a different test on the same content, so you don't have to develop a whole new test. But that, again, it takes time for that test bank to get cultivated and for there to be good questions in there. So we're going to go ahead and do add a question bank, and I'm going to call it agricultural multiple choice questions. Okay, you can click enable question tracking, but you want to keep, I often say keep that off in a group just because then it limits what people can do. So you'll see that it makes a folder, and I'm going to go ahead. You have options to make all different types of questions. So if you've made tests in Schoology before, you're familiar with all of these. I am going to go ahead. I'm just going to do one sample multiple choice and then one sample essay. So I have a multiple choice. Actually, I have an essay up here. So let's do this one first. So this is, one of the free response questions for the AP Human Geography. You'll notice that there's an image attached to it. So I've already gone ahead and saved the screenshot of the image. So I'm going to go back to my group. I'm going to do add question. I'm going to do short answer essay. Okay, and now I'm going to insert my image. Okay. And you'll see the image there. Okay. And now these are all released items, so there's no issues with plagiarism or anything like that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste it. Oh, didn't like that. I might need to just retype it. Yep, I'm going to have to retype it. So let's just go here. I am going to type the drawings above reflect. I'm not going to finish typing out the whole thing here for time because that's not the skill that we're looking at here. And you'll see you have different options down here. So you have a limit, so you can check that or uncheck that. I normally, for something like this, I would leave it unchecked because it's an essay. Allow rich text answers, so they can, you know, do some editing and everything, and then allow video or audio answers for students. For an essay, I don't. That is one way that you can differentiate though. And then if you want to print it, you know, shorter answer essay, I'm going to do essay, and then a rubric. For the purposes of this, I'm not going to make a rubric right now. If you're not familiar with how to make rubrics in Schoology, you definitely want to learn that skill. Because while it does take time in the beginning to enter all your rubrics into Schoology, once you have them there, you can then very easily add it to whatever assignment, test, quiz, whatever you're doing. And then if you're grading in Schoology, you can very easily just click the box. And what I really like about Schoology rubrics, there's two things that a lot of teachers don't realize, is that one, if the first row, the first criteria, say is out of 4 points, but they want to give a 3.5, that off to the right, you can actually override and do a 3.5. But there's also the ability to give negative points. So if you are concerned about students handing in assignments by a certain deadline, and you want to have that captured in your rubric so it's a little easier for you as a teacher to manage like points off and things like that, if that's something that you do in your class, you can add a row for timeliness or on time, and then you could have, you know, 0 being that it's on time, and then -1 would be, you know, a week late, or however your points are, whatever you have, whatever system you have set up. So once you create your question, you're quite simply going to create question, and then it's there. You'll see it there. Okay, and actually I call this multiple choice question, so I got to change that folder. I'm just going to edit the name of the folder. I'll go back in later and edit the free response questions, but I'm going to go ahead and now add another question bank, and that's going to be agricultural multiple choice questions. I'm going to go in here, pull this up, and I identified one of the questions earlier, so we're going to go here, we're going to add question, multiple choice, which the following, say, sub crop, corn, cotton, rubber, let's go, corn, cotton, rubber, cocoa, timber, okay, and the correct answer for this is A. Again, you can randomize the choices right here, so if you're worried about students seeing other people's screens, you have the ability to do that. You also have some other options here, so you can add objectives and whatnot. I'm not going to go ahead and do that now. Then I'm going to create the question. And again, you see one question there. Okay, so while it seems like it's a very slow process, once you have it loaded in there in that group, it's very front loaded. So once it's there, it's there. So then you can add it to whatever courses later on. This year, next year, you'll have it 5 years from now, and it just is going to keep improving as the process continues. So your task for this module is that you're going to identify one valuable resource that is appropriate for your group. And again, that was what we did with the crash course world history. So it's not something you have to make. Again, right now we're just focusing on cultivating the resources, picking out the good stuff that's already there. So identifying one of those, and then making a question bank, and you can add 1 or 2 questions in there just to show that you have the process of how to develop the question bank.